Hi, I wanted to discuss this app. It's the Shroud of Turin app. It's available in the App Store for iPad and iPhone. What it is it's an HD picture of the Shroud of Turin that you can kind of probe with your fingers um, and you examine. And the Shroud of Turin is believed by many to be the burial cloth that was used on Jesus, because you can tell here, you can just kind of see his face there, some blood around the head from the crowning of thorns, the stab wound on the side, uh, blood on the hands, runs up the arms, um, blood around the feet. And it was discovered in the 14th century by a knight. And when you look at it under a negative, you can actually, his face becomes visible, which back when it was discovered, the technology to make it appear like, to have like an X-ray, it's like scientists believe that it was made by a light source, and that the light seared his image into the cloth. And when you went under a negative, you can see his face, because the image is actually of X-ray quality. That's why the hands are kind of bony. And what's really interesting about it is, well, there was some confusion about the dates. When it was carbon dated, it came out that it was about 700 years old, and which it was from Jesus, it would have to be 2,000 years old. But there's a couple reasons why the dates were messed up. Well, one is carbon dating is notoriously unreliable in many cases. There's been cases where freshly killed mollusks have clocked in at around 10,000 years old when they've just been killed. And the other reason is, you can see here, I don't know if you can tell or not, but the piece of cloth that was cut for the carbon dating test, at one point the shroud was in a fire, and when you put something in a fire, the edges are usually the first to go. So one of the edges was burned away, and in the 16th century, somebody had stitched a piece of dyed cotton to the shroud, and that was the piece that was cut for the carbon dating test. So when the results came back, it came back with a mixture of first century cloth and 16th century cloth were used, because they cut off a piece that had both, because a dyed piece of cotton was stitched to the side that was burned away. So it came back with a date of around the 14th century, around 700 years. But when they look at that, they realize that test was faulty. So it would have to be 2,000 years old, which it certainly seems like it is, because there's pollen that looks like it was from the area where Jesus was buried, and you can see on the back side, like the blood stains from the scourging at the pillar. There's a lot of interesting there's documentaries, there's YouTube videos on the Shroud of Turin. It's a very famous artifact, very interesting artifact, and I recommend this app. This is the Shroud app for iPhone and iPad. available at the App Store.